Thanks for watching another Cenmass video. Today we're out at Kalinga Rifle Club and we got some pistol shooters behind us, so there may be a little background noise, some kids having a good time, and that's what we want. This video is about how to sight in your rifle, how to bore sight your rifle, and how to break in a rifle. So I'm out here with my friend Chase Taylor and my son Cullen, and today we're going to break in Chase's new Ruger precision rifle in .308. Some people feel that breaking in is critical to a rifle's overall performance and future performance. Is what I think is that if you break in a rifle properly over its lifetime, it will stay cleaner and be easier to clean and keep from fouling. The breaking in process is almost kind of like tempering or treating the barrel by shooting and cleaning and shooting and cleaning. You wonder how shooting competitors can go to a match and they can shoot shot after shot after shot and have their rifle stay accurate. It's most likely they broke those rifles in and tempered that surface of that bore to a point where their rifle doesn't pick up copper like a rifle that hasn't been broken in. So again, it's a process of paying now or paying later. You do this break-in process now, you're liable to get a rifle that doesn't take copper very much at all, so you can shoot multiple shots between cleanings and have the rifle stay more consistent. That's what we're after. It's kind of a little, everyone has a different ritual, different barrel manufacturers suggest different things. We're going to show you how I do it today. First thing we did is we opened up the Ruger and we ran a clean patch through it, which you always run a clean patch through your clean barrel. You leave oil in your barrel to keep it from corroding or having processes that degrade its accuracy. And then before you shoot, you should run a dry patch through a barrel. So we've done that, and then we bore sighted it. And when we bore sight, is what we do is we set the rifle up on some bags or a stand, and we look down through the bore. We take the bolt out of the rifle, and then we can look down through the bore, and as you can see in the window on the video, that we sight a target. We're using one at 200 yards. We sight it in the center of the bore, and then we look up into the scope and we adjust the scope turrets so that they match what we're seeing through the bore. That's all there is to bore sighting. Now, rifles that don't have a bolt that you can't look down through the bore, we will typically use a laser or something that we can put in the bore to put a dot on a target. But it's really easy to bore sight bolt action rifle simply by looking through the bore. Talk about scope adjustments for a minute. The first adjustment you want to make is you want to get down here and look through your scope and adjust this ring in the back, the focus ring. And this isn't to make the picture what you see in the scope. You want to adjust this till the crosshairs are very crisp. You get a good clean picture downrange and you got nice clean crosshairs. So there's usually a point on this where there's somewhere in the middle is where typically people start with it. And I just back it all the way out and then just start screwing it in, and then when I get the crosshairs and the target real clean, I go in past that to where it blurs, and then I come back and try to find kind of the middle of that zone, and I know that's my best eye focus adjustment. So that's adjustment number one. Now you can slip your scope cover back on the back of it because you're never going to probably touch that again. The second adjustment is the power ring here. Now I know y'all know that, but it's my job to tell you anyway. So this is just how much magnification you have for a given shooting condition. I tend to like to find a magnification I like and tend to leave the scope there. Scopes that are second focal plane, and we're not going to get into first and second focal plane and what the benefits of those are in this video, but scopes that have notches or cross marks in the reticle to help you range or to help you do holdover or windage. Those marks are usually calibrated to a specific power on the ring that you need to leave that scope on. Now, first focal plane scopes, those marks change their size with the scope power, and you don't have that problem. But most scopes are second focal plane, so you want to start if you're using marks on your crosshairs, then you need to have a specific power that you know that's the power that all that works with. This scope here doesn't have hash marks on the crosshairs, so you just put it wherever you want it. So with that being said, I like running it on the highest power when I'm trying to sight in a rifle. Obviously, the bigger picture I can get downrange, the better. So this is kind of your eye focus on your reticle in the back. This is your power knob. Elevation turret, windage turret. On the left side of the scope here, we have the Doppler or adjustment, and it's just for the range. And they're usually marked out 25, 50, 100, to whatever it is. They're approximations, and your eye might be different than the next guy. So I set it on 100 for 100 yards, and then I look through the scope. And if I need to fine tune it a little bit, I just give it a little fine tune. So that looks clearest to me at 100, and then I look up here and I find that, yep, it's sitting right on about 100. So these marks on this one seem pretty adequate. And then usually the last mark's that little figure 8 on its side sign, that's infinity. And so anything past on this scope, anything past 500 yards, you just set it on infinity. And so this particular scope is set up, each click is 0.1 meridian, and then you have or minute of angle or meridian. This is done in meridian. I'm kind of a minute of angle guy because that's what I kind of grew up shooting with. The military guys tend to be meridians. They're easy to calculate out. Your ballistics programs will usually accommodate either system. Some scopes are quarter minute of angle to the click or eighth minute of angle. Basically, a minute of angle ends up being an inch at 100 yards. So if it's a quarter minute of angle, that's a quarter inch per click at 100 yards. And we usually start out sighting that at 100 yards on rifles we can bore sight. Rifles that you can't bore sight, like semi-automatics where you can't get the bolt out and look down through the bore, we tend to put a target up real close and we know we can't miss it, and then make coarser adjustments. The only disadvantage to that is you got to go out and keep continuing to move your target back, and it takes a lot more shots to sight in your rifle. And since we're breaking this in and we got to go through the tedious process of cleaning and getting all the copper out between each shot, the fewer shots we can get it sighted in with, the kind of the better for us, as it gives us more time to worry about the other parts of it. So that's kind of, you know, what's going on with the scope adjustments. I know there's a lot of stuff I leave out. In one video we can't really talk about the different types of scope and focal planes, and I am not going to stop and explain meridian versus minute of angle.
If you're aiming for that orange dot, you're a foot low.
So by bore sighting, we're on the paper. When you don't bore sight, you have to start with a target up real close because you might not hit the target. This way we get to start out 100 yards, and it doesn't take us dozens of shots to adjust this scope. Because we bore sighted the rifle, the first shot's on the paper, now we know what adjustments to make in this scope. If we hadn't been able to bore sight through the bore, like a semi-automatic rifle, is what we would have to do is start with a target up maybe 20 yards away, something we couldn't miss, so that we can make those coarser adjustments and then have to walk out and keep putting the target back. So the big advantage and the only advantage of bore sighting is you can start with your target farther back and take a lot less shots to get the rifle sighted in. So now that we've taken this shot, there's two ways to go at this. Either we can know how much click value this scope has, so we know if one click means a quarter minute of angle, that's a quarter inch per click at 100 yards, and we can see how many inches out we are and count the clicks accordingly. The way to make the course adjustment is to put the crosshair where you aimed originally, and then without moving the rifle, adjust the turrets so that the crosshair ends up on where your hole ended up in the target. And that will give you your course adjustment. Since we're about a foot out, we're going to do it that way, and then from there on we'll count clicks.
The jokes I'm talking about.
Load these, okay? Okay. Come on, don't do that.
All right, so we got pretty close. Now we're like 2 inches high. So rather than putting the crosshairs on our impact, on our aiming point, and then moving, without moving the rifle, moving the crosshairs through the hole, now we're just going to count clicks. Now, since we're sighting in and breaking in at the same time, we're going to need to take this rifle now and we're going to need to clean it because we want to get that copper that we just put in the bore out of the bore. So we're gonna stop. We're gonna stop what we're doing, and we're gonna run. We're gonna get this rifle bore clean. So what we'll do is we'll run a solvent soak patch through first to get the carbon out of the bore. So we pull the carbon out. Now we run a dry patch through. And now we're going to come back and use some sort of copper solvent. And I like this product here by Gunslick. It's a bore. And we used our copper solvent. We cleaned our carbon out of the barrel. Then we used our copper solvent to take the copper that stuck to the bore from that first shot out of the bore. And we just went back and forth with the copper solvent till we got no more copper out of the bore. No more lightly tinged blue patches. Now, when you brush your bore with these bronze brushes, this bronze has a certain amount of copper in it, and it will turn the patches blue in itself because you'll put this in there. So you're probably better off to use a nylon brush in the break-in process. Just want to put that out there for people because these bronze brushes will fool you. I've been using a nylon one, but I put this bronze one on here to show you. Use a nylon, breaking in. Otherwise, you're going to get false blue copper readings. This product here, Gunslick Foaming Bore Cleaner, is the best copper solvent I've found. I've tried Buds and Butches and 7.62. I shy away from the products with ammonia in them because if you don't get all the ammonia out of your bore, it will start eating on the metal of your bore. So I shy away from the sweets, 7.62, and all the ammonia-based cleaners. This stuff's supposed to be harmless, and I found that this stuff really gets the copper out. The drawback to this stuff is but most copper solvents you let sit anyway. This stuff does a pretty darn good job, and you only really have to let it sit in there maybe 5 minutes, and that makes this process of break-in a lot faster. So I really love this Gunslick Pro Foaming Bore Cleaner. Remember the blue can. And I always go with good Hoppy's number 9, which is just the solvent that takes out the carbon real good, and I always end up start and finish with this. It has that smell that we all remember, that sweet smell, nitro powder solvent smell. That a lot of people wear rubber gloves. We're a lot more careful with chemicals and stuff nowadays than we used to be. So I tend to wear some rubber gloves. Sometimes I don't. But I do suggest wearing rubber gloves. I'm not doing that today. I'm taking my chances. We're all going to die of something, which sounds funny till it happens to you. But this is just Hoppy's number 9 nitro in here. So that's the two products I'm using today that I like a lot for breaking in rifles is the Gunslick Foaming Bore Cleaner and good old Hops number 9, Hoppy's Hops. Okay, so we're ready for our second shot. We got the fouling out from the first shot. I'm going to load this into the magazine because I noticed on this Ruger Precision rifle it doesn't like being loaded as a single shot because the bolt hangs up on the back of the magazine follower. It's designed that way, so it wants to be fed out of the magazine, and so that's how I'm rolling with it. So here we are. I made my adjustment, and we're going to shoot our second shot and hope we don't look like a clown and we can get this thing sighted in with. I always brag to most guys, if I do a good job of bore sighting, I can usually get your rifle right on the money in 5 shots. So today we're going to see if I can put my money where my mouth is. All right, that one's about 2 inches out. And so again, since we're on break-in, we're going to clean now at this point. And hope we can get this thing to quit fouling so that we can shoot it, maybe 5 times in a row. But we're going to clean every time. Whether we get fouling or not, we're going to clean every time for the first 5. That's my particular recipe. And then I do 3 to 5 in a row after that. So I'm going to make a little adjustment going by what I just seen down on the target. I felt like I made a good release on the trigger, a good break. So I think the elevation's about right, but I'm going to put a little bit of We hit a little to the right, so I'm going to go left a few clicks. So in 4 shots, we've went from maybe a foot to 16 inches off the bowl to now we're about an inch high and an inch right or left, but we aren't even able to shoot groups yet. So again, 4th shot, now we're going to clean again, we're going to get that copper out of there, and then we're going to make the 5th shot, and then we'll be able to shoot a few groups. We'll be able to go 3, 4, or 5, maybe 3 to 5 shots and then clean each time. And we're going to do that. If we haven't got it to quit coppering, and each shot now it's getting better on the copper. By the time we get to our 10th, somewhere between usually our 5th and 20th shot, we quit getting copper. And as soon as we quit getting copper, we're sort of done with the break-in. So hey, while I'm cleaning between these shots, I want to talk about this Ruger precision rifle a little bit. You know, we've had a lot of guys come in the shop looking for these, and they've sold out just about as fast as they make them. So sometimes we can't get them right off the bat for a guy. You know, it takes us a few weeks to find one. They've been a big popular thing. This is the first one I've got to play with. And my initial impression of it was this. When I sat down, I wasn't used to the platform. I wasn't used to the stock folding around. And then it kind of covers the bolt release, so I had to back it back off to get the bolt out. I'm used to rifles that I can single feed if I want. You have to pretty much be in the magazine here. You can't get the bolt out without dropping the magazine. And so it was kind of awkward for me initially. And I wasn't, you know, thinking, you know, I hadn't made up my mind, but I was kind of like, you know, I don't know, it's just different. I'm kind of unfamiliar with it, and I was struggling a little bit. But now, you know, I've shot it 5 shots, and I've had to clean it between each time, and I'm getting familiar with it, and I'm finding that it's a pretty intuitive platform. It works good. It's easy to get things apart and clean it and get at it. It's really, I'm pretty impressed with it. I really can't speak to the accuracy right yet because we're just breaking it in and we're just kind of sighting it in. So, but it looks like it's going to be a good shooter. It's a 308, so the recoil's not massive. But what I'm feeling on the business, on the user end of it here in my shoulder is that it seems to, you know, the way they've got it set up with this tactical stock and everything, it seems to mitigate recoil pretty good. You know, it has this brake on the front of it. It has good weight to it. It's not as light as it may appear. It's by no means a heavy rifle. It's one that someone could carry. But it's definitely, it's got that familiar AR grip angle and everything, and the safety's similar to an AR, which is kind of the go-to rifle everyone's used to. So that's intuitive. The, you know, safety position, grip angle, it has that AR feel to it. It's real good. It absorbs recoil well. All the components on it seem intuitive. This is a pretty good rig right here, and the more I shoot it, the more I like it. So I just wanted to say that about the precision rifle. It's pretty nice so far. I like it. Chase has got a Harris bipod on here. I like Harris bipods a lot better than a lot of the sexy ones. Harris has been building bipods for a long time. You get these really sexy tactical bipods, and we have to put an adapter on the rail because this goes on a piece of rail down here, and this particular one's on a key mod, so we get an adapter for the key mod. But I like the Harris because you can take it off of one gun because it goes on a sling swivel stud. You can use this same bipod on your hunting rifle. With an adapter, you can use it on an AR. Some of these sexy tactical bipods you can't use on just any rifle because they only fit on a rail system. So the Harris is nice. Plus the Harris are generally much lighter than some of the sexy bipods, and they're just made out of steel. And you know, yeah, they got, you know, springs that you can see, but they make a lot of sense. They got a lot of adjustability. You know, I come back to that all the time. Guys come in and pay hundreds of dollars for sexy bipods, and the Harris bipods really get the job done. And I've seen a lot of tactical shooters that could have any bipod they want that are still using Harris bipod. So, you know, this is a pretty good setup Chase has got here. Okay, cool. All right. We've shot like 5 through. We've cleaned relentlessly all the copper out between each shot on our break-in. We've moved the sight to turn a couple of clicks here and there, and we've got it pretty much shooting on at 100 yards. The wind just came up. We turned the wind filter on, the mic, but you're probably still hearing on this video right now, but that's okay. We like being in the wind. We're having fun. Luckily, the wind's from our backs toward the target, so we might get a pretty good group. It won't be perfect because there is a lot of wind. It's blowing about 20, 25 mile an hour out here right now. But finally, we're to the point now where we're going to shoot 3-shot groups and then clean. And Chase is going to shoot some groups. So Chase, man, get after it, bro. Make them good. Make them count. Aim at the same spot every time, regardless of where the shots hit. We want to shoot a group. We don't care where we're hitting. Take your time, brother. Man, it is windy. Okay, where were you aiming?
Top.
Oh yeah, right in the center. Did you aim at the center?
Yeah.
Boy, I got it right on the money, don't I?
Yeah.
Did you aim at the top?
Yeah.
Right square?
Yeah.
Man, it hit right in the middle. Not a little bit toward the middle, but right in the middle. In the wind. It's so windy, my spotting scope's jiggling everywhere. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to check out our website, cenmass.us, and YouTube, Cenmass. That's cenmass.us.